Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. Well, we're starting a new Psalm, Psalm 2, and we'll be able to actually contrast and compare Psalm 1 to Psalm 2, and I believe we're going to learn some new things. One of the most amazing things to me, and it shouldn't have been, but as we went through the book of Revelation over the last several months, I could not believe how much I really learned that I never felt like I knew before. It just opened up in a new and a fresh way to me. And I've always loved the book of Revelation, but it just began to be a new book to me. Then the book of Psalms. Like I said the other day, I've read the book of Psalms probably more than any other book besides Proverbs in the entire Bible. Over 600 times, no doubt, over the last 50 years that I've been a believer. And yet, as we have already started looking at these Psalms, studying for these chats, goodness, I feel like I'm learning so much. And I wished I had more than 5 minutes to share all the things that I feel like I'm learning, I'm seeing these Psalms that just blesses my heart, that makes them come alive in a fresh and a new way. So it's my prayer that as we read these Psalms, make some comments about these Psalms, maybe look into the history of the Psalms, tell you maybe who wrote the Psalm if we know for a fact, or even if we have to guess, that it will become a new book to you also and bring great comfort and blessing and encouragement to you, especially in these dark and dismal days in which we live in this crazy, confused, mixed up, chaotic world. So the Psalms can bring great peace into our lives when we learn to call on the name of the Lord in the midst of our trials and troubles and tribulations. And that's what Psalms helps us to do. So Psalm 2, and let me read it. Let's just begin by reading the entire Psalm. It's not that long, 12 verses, and then we'll begin looking at some specific things about this Psalm. Psalm 2, why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. He who sits in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall hold them in derision. Then shall he speak to them in his wrath and distress them in his deep displeasure. Yet have I set my king on my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord has said to me, you are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will give you the nations for your inheritance, and the ends of the earth for your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. Now therefore be wise, O kings, be instructed, you judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all those who put their trust in him. Now, very interesting Psalm. Charles Haddon Spurgeon, the great preacher of years past, called this Psalm the Psalm of the Messiah the King, the Psalm of Messiah the King, in his book that he wrote about the book of Psalms called The Treasury of David. So if you want to get a big book that really goes into detail and gives some tremendous lessons and messages through the Psalms, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, Charles Haddon Spurgeon's book, The Treasury of David, would be a very interesting book to study along the book of Psalms as you would be looking at it in the years to come. Now, as we see this Psalm, when we compare it to Psalm 1, we notice that Psalm 1 is very personal and it emphasizes God's law. Remember, the man that is blessed, he delights in the law of God, and in his law he meditates day and night. While Psalm 2 is very national and it focuses on prophecy. Now remember, when you look at the Old Testament, you have what's called the law and the prophets. Jesus said, the law and the prophets, they testify me. And so you have the law, Moses giving us the 10 Commandments, giving us the rules of God for holy living. And then you have, of course, the prophecies, the prophets who are talking about things that are going to happen immediately to the nation of Israel and things that will happen in the future. And so we see that this is a very interesting psalm as the second psalm as it comes together right after Psalm 1. And we'll be looking in more details at that tomorrow. Well, God bless, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and may you have a great weekend too. Take care.